Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. What if I told you the only thing standing between you and your next big opportunity is your voice? This isn't just another program. Empower Your Message is your ticket to becoming the podcast guest everyone wants. You'll learn how to craft a pitch that gets a hell yes, show up with unshakable confidence, and drop truth bombs that leave hosts and audiences wanting more. No more playing small. No more waiting for permission. It's your time to be heard. Loud, clear, and unforgettable. Visit the link in the show notes to sign up, and let's make your voice impossible to ignore. The mic is waiting. Are you ready? Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Dana Christian Lee. She is a yoga and mindfulness teacher, the executive director at Tell My Story, the executive director and producer of an upcoming documentary film, which is going to be coming out later this year. She's also a huge advocate for children's and youth's mental health. Welcome, Dana. How are you doing today?
Good morning. It's a beautiful day to be alive. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am wonderful. And I love that you said that every day is a beautiful day to be alive. It's whenever we wake up on the green side of the grass, it's a good day.
Yep.
So the sun is shining. It's warm out. It's beautiful. And I am so excited and honored and happy to have you here today. And I cannot wait to dive in and share about all the beautiful and wonderful magic you put out into the world through the work you do. So
thank you.
With that being said,
me, I appreciate it.
My pleasure and my honor. Let us jump right in. This is such an important topic to discuss. I want to dive right into mental health, tell my story, all of the things. So you didn't start this mission, but you chose to carry it, Dana, as the executive director. What called you into the fire of this work, focusing on children and youth's mental health specifically? And what keeps you standing in it every day?
That's a deep and many layered right into the deep end of the pool question.
Yeah, let's go.
But I think I can only speak from but if you're going to be in the space of mental well-being and mental health, you come at it from a very personal lens. So my understanding and challenge of it began at a pretty young age. I had eating disorders that I didn't realize I had as a young person, middle school starting. And I have a sister who struggled with her own addiction and mental health from a very young age, didn't graduate high school. So it's been something that's been right on the windshield for a long time. I struggled with postpartum depression with both of my children when they were born. And I'm a very outgoing, energetic person. And I didn't realize I was not the same person. So I had a lot of up close and personal early experience with mental health, depression, anxiety, substance abuse. And then I lost countless friends to direct suicide or slow suicide by substance abuse. Both of my kids lost friends in high school, one in high school. My daughter lost a friend in high school the night before her 16th birthday. And my son lost his roommate in college at a small liberal arts college in Michigan his junior year, just a few years ago. And it rocked all of our worlds in so many ways. And it's one of those that the ripples keep going and you don't know the impact that it's going to have, because when somebody takes their life, it impacts everyone around them. And I've been in this space for myself, with my kids, with my family, and always navigating the space, I guess. And a friend of mine who knows me very well, she met a man, Jason Reed, who's now my new business partner. But she said, Dana, I met this guy and you just got to meet him. Just trust me. I know you two will have stuff to talk about. And it took 2 Zoom calls, and I left all my work basically that I was doing for the bread and butter full time and went to work for Jason full time, because he lost his son to suicide at the age of 14. and he missed the signs. And so he's a man who takes action, and I'm all about the action. I'm like, yes, this is such a huge problem. Let's dig into it so we can make a positive impact. That was
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. And how do I stay in it? I stay in it because it nourishes me and it also really complicates me. And because I'm continually evolving, I really enjoy that work of myself
Mhm.
and not getting out because it's hard or overwhelming. I'm learning when to step back, really take a break, nourish myself. And I do so much to take care of myself. If it gets really chronic, it's like I do physical therapy because it's chiropractic. I do acupuncture,
Yeah.
I do yoga, I do all the things. There, I pull out all the stops. But to stay in the space, it's work. It really is a dedication to work on self.
For sure. For sure. You need to do whatever you can to keep your own mental health and stability up and wellness up at the top of its game. You have to be at the top of your game because of the work you do. And obviously you are a woman of action too, because you jumped ship from your full-time job and jumped right into that after 2 Zoom calls. I think that's absolutely incredible. And it just shows your belief in and dedication to the mission and the work. And that is the type of people that are needed when it comes to doing this work, people that are dedicated and all about the mission. So kudos to you for doing that. It's incredible. You should be very proud of yourself and give yourself a pat on the back for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in a world that often overlooks children's mental health, let's be honest, mental health on the whole, it still gets overlooked and swept under the rug. It's still not talked about. It's a shameful thing to discuss. We are seeing shifts and changes around all of that. But specifically speaking about children's mental health, what is the hardest truth that you've had to face in your mission?
All the fear around it. Because when people are afraid of something, they don't want to look at it. They will avoid
Right.
at all cost really digging into what's going on. So there's two emotions, in my opinion, that override the human condition, and it's fear and love. And if we're functioning from the fear space, we try to push it or externally fix it often with kids and youth mental health. If parents feel uncomfortable, they are very well intentioned. I want to say most parents, but it's external fixes of let's get them busier. Maybe they just need to be in more clubs or on more teams or more organized or more committed. And if every hour of the day is full, in your parent mind, I'm doing a really good job because I'm having.
Can I just ask you something about that and
Yeah,
interrupt you? Sorry, I
sure.
don't mean to interrupt
Anytime.
you, but
No, you're
something came
slow.
into my mind that I'm wondering if part of that, and maybe some parents, maybe all parents, part of it is not wanting to admit that their children have the problem of mental health because of shame and the shame that's associated with mental health. Do you think that could be part of the problem or
Yeah,
part of the stigma?
that's where I was going is
Okay.
because, and I don't even know if parents consciously know they could feel that way. They just know
Hmm.
that something doesn't feel right and it makes them anxious or overwhelmed, or I can't manage this because I have my
Right.
stressors. And so
Right.
thinking if I give them this thing or this camp or experience, it will help them. And what
Mm.
the kids really want is something what parents can't provide. And because they don't actually know what that is, there is a big
Hmm.
sense of shame, a big sense of I'm a bad parent. And if you have an environment in your home with a partner, or if you're a single parent or whatever, there could be an external voice telling you, you aren't a good mom. You aren't a good dad.
Yeah.
Step up. You work too much, or you drink too much, or there's external
Mm.
things. But there's also the internal voice that says, wow, I really didn't do a good job today, which can turn into a week, a month, a year, a decade. And then it's, wow, that overriding sense of shame. I'm not a good parent. And people don't want to
Yeah.
hear that. And that voice isn't necessarily truth, but it is that call to say, pay attention to me. Maybe there's something we can
Mhm.
shift inside ourselves that will actually turn or even just micro change the lens a little to see the situation differently and with new eyes and a new heart. Yeah.
Sometimes that voice isn't even ours.
How do you say?
Conditioning and what we've been taught growing up, and then stepping into the parent role, it's someone else saying, you're not a good parent because you're not doing this, or because you're just the different conditioning that leads to those beliefs as well. Sometimes when we spiral into our own shit, not even to do with our kids' mental health or anything like that, but when we spiral down, or when we have feelings of not enoughness or not believing in ourselves, it's someone else's voice more often than not that has told us we're not enough, or we're not good enough, or whatever it is growing up, and we still have and hold on to that belief.
Yeah.
So I think part of it could be that with the parents as well, is it's not even their voice saying, you're not a good parent, you're a shitty parent, or whatever it is.
We learn that from environmental conditioning, and
Yeah.
environment is a huge portion of our own well-being day in and day out.
For sure.
And even if it is a voice of someone else's, Brad, if you
Yeah.
say it enough, you metabolize it in your own being.
Yeah,
You function from
absolutely.
that place as if. And so
Mhm.
it couldn't possibly not be true. So that's
Yeah.
how people often live. And so until
Yeah.
we challenge that voice that we've metabolized as our own, as an
Mhm.
identity, and break that identity from that thought pattern and that feeling that lives in the body, we're stuck. So
Yeah.
we're in a catch-22, I think, as a society right now, and we're on the
Mhm.
precipice of some pretty big opportunity,
Yeah,
as well as some pretty dire circumstances.
for
Both
sure. I would
truths
agree with
are
that.
true, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of the parents and overwhelm and being unsure comes along with that, with all of that around our children's mental health. And so how do you help the parents unlearn that fix it mentality, and instead about how to properly hold space for their kids' mental health?
I think we can't do anything for others that we don't do for ourselves. So I think the fix it mentality, it needs, like, the mirror needs to be turned on ourselves as parents. It's, imagine trying to change somebody else when we know how hard it is to change ourselves. And if you can
Yeah.
think from that lens, how am I going to change my child to do X, Y, or Z when I've been trying for however many years old you are at that time when you ask that question? I've been trying not to think this thought, or trying not to smoke that cigarette, or stay up
Mhm.
really late, right? Like, we know what we need to change, and we know everything about us, what we want to be
Mhm.
different. If that's hard, imagine trying to impose that on someone else. So
Very
turning the
true.
mirror on ourselves is the first thing, to say, what in me needs to shift so I can be more awake and aware about myself. And I think that's the hardest thing for parents, is because parents
Yeah.
are so overwhelmed. I would say overwhelm and anxiety are the huge factors that muddy the waters of clear parenting. So you can only
Mhm.
pretend like you're the duck on the surface as a parent sometimes, scrambling underwater. And that's a good parent.
Yeah.
And then the other
Mhm.
ones are just flailing because there's so much violence and divisiveness and hatred that's being spewed all over our world. That trickles into the family in big ways and in smaller but really felt ways. So
Mm.
shifting the fix it mentality for parents would be, turn the mirror on yourself, see what needs to be uncovered within yourself. Why am I anxious? Why am I? And work on that, because we only, in my opinion, see the world from the state of our own nervous system. But if
Mm.
your nervous system is in chaos, the world is in chaos.
Yeah.
So it's an inside job first. And then I
Absolutely.
would add on to that. I've read a book recently. It's brilliant. I actually have it right here. It's called it's by Anthony DeMello. It's called Awareness. And there's
Mhm.
a man who started a school, and he got
Mhm.
all of the worst children. And the book itself is actually called Summerhill by A.S. Neal. And he said, every child has a God in him. Our attempts to mold the child will turn the God into a devil. So if you don't want to know what it just means to hold space, it's let them be who they are. Keep them safe. They
Mhm.
can't hurt other people themselves or be unkind. And in this book, it talks about these kids coming to this school, and there's no
Mhm.
expectation on them to learn. And they're, after being bored for some days, and angry, they're like, what is going on here? And then from that boredom arises a sense of curiosity and creativity, and they want to learn. And after 6 months, it's a brilliant story. But after 6 months of not having these hard, rigid boundaries to have our kids become like us, they become like themselves and lean into that with support and safety, miracles happen. And then they blossom.
Absolutely.
So we can't fix kids. We can only allow them to become who they are safely.
A few things there. So the mirror analogy, when we decide to look at ourselves and look within and do the work, that is also a permission slip for our kids, where we are modeling behavior for them. Kids are very smart. They pick up on shit. They get cues. They pick up cues. So there's a start right there. You are not only working on yourself, but you're also doing it for your kids, because that's a model of the behavior that you want for them. Two, we cannot fix. I don't think anyone needs to be fixed. I don't think anyone's broken. I think that's the wrong terminology that we
I
use.
agree.
Nobody's broken. We just need help. We need support and we need guidance. Nobody is broken. So I think we need to shift the languaging around that. Three, I have never seen so much divisiveness and anger and hatred in the world as I've seen in this past, I would say, 5 or 6 years in the world. It is horrible. And we need to shift that. It's love, like you said, love, and what was the other?
I said there's two human emotions that are at the surface or at the top is love and fear. They get very nuanced,
exactly.
but those are the ones that lead the way. Which leader will you follow?
Yeah. And love is the highest vibration on the planet. And Paul McCartney, John Lennon, they said it. They had it. That is all we need. Love is everything. So if we can step into that emotion and that energy, it can shift everything. It can change everything. And the last thing I want to say is talking about being a parent. We always want our kids to be like us. We want to mold them and we want them to do the things that we weren't able to. Stop that bullshit. That is not right. If your kid, if you didn't, or you weren't able to play a sport, or you weren't able to compete, or you weren't able to learn how to play an instrument, don't push that shit on your kids.
Nope.
Ask them if this is something they want. Sure, suggest it. But if they don't want it, don't push it on it. Push it on them because you weren't able to do it. Stop trying to live vicariously through your children. It's not fair.
No.
And it's not right to do that to kids. So all of those very poignant points that you made there that I just wanted to reiterate and talk about a little bit. But what would you say then is one of the biggest misconceptions society has about children and youth struggling with mental health? And why do you think these myths persist?
I think the old version is they're just going through it. It's natural. Let them. Teens are teens, that kind of thing. They're grumpy, they're annoying, and they'll get through it. And I think the problem with that old mindset, right, is it's a different world than anyone's ever lived in. The classic signs of rebellion are just a strive for interdependence away from parents. And then independence, who are we supposed to become? And the only way we can become is with safe boundaries. But that's very rare. Most of the time, these kids are struggling beyond the norm of what maybe you or I grew up with, right? Because our world is fast. Our world is full of what we've never had. So to compare what we knew and what is two totally different animals. So society needs to just know that the paradigm is shifted. That is broken. And the new way is very different. And I think one of the pervasive things that people don't realize is they don't necessarily know that there's a problem, especially because it becomes quieter. It can become more internalized. It can be pulling away, and squeaky wheels get the grease, right?
Yeah,
Oftentimes
for sure.
it's the quiet ones. It's the ones that are actually seemingly thriving in the world that are secretly like being destroyed by perfectionism, or those that are so depressed that it's like not just typical teens are tired. They don't necessarily want to take a shower. They don't want to go to school because they need more sleep. It's deeper than that. So oftentimes we miss the signs from the quiet ones to address a problem that's really pervasive, because we are locked in our minds and we are separated from each other by these. I'm even like plugged in the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just the phone anymore.
No.
It's also, we can go into now this, which is a whole nother conversation, which is AI. If we have a
Yeah. Oh,
problem,
yeah.
you can go into Chatty and the kids throw in what their problems are, tell me how to fix it. They use them as their friend,
Yep.
as their therapist, as even, it's getting really weird, relationships.
Yeah.
So there's a whole thing where people just aren't relating to each other. So I think the whole world of well-being, mental health, physical health, emotional health, they're all tied together. And when we isolate, every problem gets worse. And if you can
Oh, for sure.
imagine that a parent's locked in their head, trying to help a child that's locked inside their own head, also locked inside AI, and parents don't understand what can happen usually with AI. We're getting more hit around as a society around the negative impacts of social media.
Yeah.
But is that changing? Very few parents
Nope.
are actually taking steps to help their kids understand it or be with it.
Parents are getting phones for their kids at 8, 9 years old. What the hell does an 8 or 9 year old does not need a cell phone? I'm sorry. They do not. And that, I think the phones and social media is where it starts, where that isolation starts, because then they just get so focused on that. But that's the parents also. You heard, let's go back 10 or 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when parents were using the television as babysitters.
Yep.
Now it's become the cell phone and social media and video games, and those are the babysitters. You go to a restaurant, how many kids are on fucking iPads and cell phones at the like when I was a kid, no fucking way were you allowed to have anything at the dinner table. You sit and you be present at the dinner table, and it's time for family.
Yep.
So I think the traditional family unit has been blown to shit. It doesn't exist anymore. I don't think community exists anymore. We need to get back to those things. We need to get back to traditional family values. We need to get back to community. Community is lost. It is you look around neighborhoods, half the people in your neighborhood don't even talk to each other. When I was a kid, my mom would babysit children in the apartment building to help out. That's what you did. And we were all friends. We all spent time together. We all hung out. And none of that shit goes on anymore. We need to get back to that. That's part of the problem. A huge part of it, I think.
Yeah. Young people, if we're going to talk specifically about young people, but any human being, and I've said this for the last 20 years, it's been my mantra. People want to be seen, valued, and part of something larger. I remember being interviewed one time for a job that I had, and they said, "What do you want the kids at this church to experience?" Because I was working in ministry. And I said, I want to create programs that have kids, youth, and families. Everybody feels seen and valued, a part of something larger. And so how do you do that? That is the key for the unlock of what we've got going on. And you said a bunch of them, which communication is huge. People aren't talking to each other. And to be honest, people don't know how to truly communicate anymore. Discourse has been broken down. Creative thinking has been broken down. It gets thrown into literal data in AI, for example. I think AI can be used really beautifully with creativity as iteration, which I find very fascinating. That's a whole nother topic, but it can also be very, if you're not very aware of what you're doing, it can become very problematic, because the communication basically is one-sided, because it's you and a screen. Yeah. So just the ability for young people to talk to their parents, then broken down. And it's interesting. So for Tell My Story, the first film that I inherited when I got the job was What I Wish My Parents Knew. And it's a bunch of young people saying that they had a problem. Did they talk to their parents? No. They got help. And obviously every child was okay. But it really was a hard film. And it is a hard film, but it also shows you what to look for. Like, what are the signs of young people that are struggling, right? After showing that film for about a year, I had a lot of conversations at summits, Zooms, in-person events, and the two main themes echoed. Kids, did you talk to your parents? Nope. Why? And why not? because they're too stressed out and I don't want to be a burden. And 20 years ago, 25 years ago, most kids are like, my parents are lame. They don't understand me.
Yeah.
So we cared less
Yeah.
me about that because it's, they just don't understand me. It's that narrative has shifted. It's less that people like, my parents are lame. I roll. It's I roll. No, I didn't talk to my parents. They looked at me like I was dumb. Like, no, of course I didn't talk to them. But what I didn't realize was they didn't talk to them because not that they didn't love them or care about them. It was they didn't want to stress them out or be a burden because they know their parents are stressed. Therein lies a very large problem. And so Jason and I came together and said, all right, we're problem solvers, both of us. That's why I really enjoy working with him. We see a problem, say, what can we do to help? We created a Tell My Story card game. So it's 100 questions to build connection, trust, and heartfelt communication between tweens, teens, and parents. But you and I could play the game together, Brad, and learn a lot about each other, have a lot of laughs, probably have some tears. But it's our first step at getting people to be able to talk to their kids and meet them where they are. So I'm like, put it in yours, put it in your car, put it in your whatever. Use it when you are with your kids on your regular schedule. This isn't even us saying you should not overschedule your kids or overprogram your kids or eat in the car. Wherever you are, just have meaningful conversation if you can.
Yeah.
That's where that first next step, moving from the first film to the game, really life, because that connection and that trust that I can tell my parents something and it won't crumble them. My mom won't cry for days or go into her own depression, or my dad won't drink. So there's a lot there that can be a
For sure.
shame trigger. And so instead of functioning from fear and shame and old patterning, it's, wow, let's just realize maybe the communication isn't great because we can all be better communicators. And really start from that place, because communication is what moves the needle forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying this for a long time. Conversation is the catalyst for change. We need to talk about things. If we don't talk about them, how the fuck is anything going to change? We have to discuss them. I want to make another point around parents, the kids saying that the parents, they're stressed out enough. This also speaks to all of this hustle culture bullshit that has been bred into us. This always got to keep doing and doing and doing and doing and get one thing done and it's right on to the next. We don't know how to fucking slow down anymore either. We don't know how to relax. We don't know how to just be. We are human beings, not human doings. That needs to shift too. But society has created this I want everything now culture bullshit there's so many things that need to change. And I know it can only happen one thing at a time, but fuck, it's like when you think about it, it's like pushing a boulder uphill. Where do you start with all of this shit? Because what is the main point that kicks shit off? Is it this hustle culture bullshit? Is it both parents now have it? Because when I was growing up, both my parents didn't work. It was my mom stayed home. So and you have to have two parents. You have to have two incomes now to survive. So it's all of this shit that has contributed to and is now falling onto our kids and creating these mental health struggles for the parents and for kids.
Yep, we're all in it.
So it's like, where the fuck do you begin?
And that's the whole thing. Like, we're all in it. Parents are struggling. Kids are struggling. The world is struggling. All of our systems are falling. The educational system is not doing well. Our government, we're not even going to talk about the government. We're going to talk about our food system,
our healthcare system, all of it.
And climate crisis is one of the biggest mental health struggles that young people face. And because these are these existential crises that are the questions of, are we even going to have an earth to live on? There's a couple things there that you said that I find very inspired and challenging, but I do think are needle movers. Relaxing. People don't know how to relax. That's directly tied to the nervous system. I'm intimately involved in practices to help people understand that, one, they have a nervous system. Most people don't understand what that actually means. They can say, you get on my nerves, but they can't necessarily understand what what nerves are they getting on? What does that mean? And then if you actually start it's called interoception, an inner world. If you go inside and start digging around, that's the place that They're like, no, I want to fix everything externally. That's the external stuff. It's everything outside of me. You're the problem. That's the problem. This is the problem.
Yeah.
And if all those things would just fix, I would be fine. So instead of just saying, I'm going to go inside and take care of my own system so I can show up differently, because in a world that's so anxious, you hit a key word, is relaxing. And relaxing isn't just lying on a beach doing nothing anymore. That is not relaxing. One of my favorite yoga teachers and a good friend, he always says, and it's so funny, and he said it again and again for a while, and I was like, seriously, why do you keep saying this? But it makes so much sense. He says, isn't it relaxing to relax? And in yoga, oftentimes it's at the end when you do the final resting pose, the corpse pose, the death pose, the shavasana. That's the place where you can feel like you can relax, right? And you have to do all this really hard work every day, or in a yoga class for an hour, brutalize yourself for some people through all these poses so you can have 3 minutes of relaxation. The joke in that statement is every breath, he teaches, but I believe too, is a chance to relax into yourself. Every breath is that opportunity to relax into the gift of life. And my friend, is what we've forgotten. The simplicity of life, and that we are nature. And we are intimately tied to everyone and everything around us.
We are all one.
Exactly. So we can only start with our own delicate, precious nervous systems and say, I need to work on being okay in myself, while also being this soft-bodied human in a world that tries to make us so hard and so separate. And so fighting those two sides, that dichotomy, is breaking us. And yes, I believe it will break us open, but I'm much more about let's do it right now internally instead of having everything externally have to really fall apart.
It all starts here. We are the foundation for everything. Love, everything starts within us. That relationship that we have with ourselves is hands down, I don't care what anyone says, the most important and longest standing relationship we will ever have in our lives. So you better get fucking good with yourself first. That's where it needs to start.
Yeah, of course. And we are our own worst enemies.
Yeah. Oh, of course. So absolutely. We are hardest on ourselves, everything.
Until there's a felt sense of that in the somatic body. If the heart can soften and you can feel, like, we live in a very numb culture. That's a whole nother topic.
Yes.
Why are we why are we shut down?
Yes.
And that's another nervous system thing as well. But we begin to become hardened and numb emotionally, but then also when we are on our devices all the time, our brains are getting those hits of dopamine that is wearing out the receptors. So we actually need more external to have some kind of stimulation to feel. Whereas if we can detox from all of the substances that we fill ourselves with, doesn't matter what one, to actually feel our feelings. And that's where people are most afraid.
Oh, yeah. They don't want to look inside. That's a scary place.
Not even just looking. The looking part is still, I hold a crystal a lot when I talk, but it's a very good example. I'm this, but my feelings are over here. Like, I can talk about them in a therapy session objectively instead of, which is good. But then also like holding that really close and tenderly and with curiosity. We are so not curious anymore because we are moving so fast. So taking that quiet time to just be reflective, whether it's 5 minutes or one breath, to say, well, how do I actually feel? 1, 2, how do I want to feel? And then, oh my Lord, if we get to number 3, what can I actually do to shift my life in the direction of feeling the way I want to feel?
Yep, absolutely.
And then that moves the needle into becoming who we want to become. So this is a very intricate conversation with a lot of threads, but in its essence, I think we came to something really potent, which is it's about self-love and it's about knowing thyself, first of all. And
that's where it starts.
Making peace with it, but saying, wow, isn't this a gift? Aren't I so grateful to be in a body and to be alive? And we can show up with a different energy
Gratitude.
But you also said it. Kids know right when you walk in a house, and we know it as people too. We go in the house, we know it's bad when our partner has that look or that tone about them. Kids know. Why do you think we go to their rooms immediately most of the time? Because it's like, you didn't do the dishes. What is wrong with you? Why can't you get yourself organized? And it's this constant swirl.
You pointing the finger. It's like you realize when you point your finger, you have 3 pointing back at yourself. So look at yourself first, and don't be so quick to dish out judgment and complain. And life's too fucking short for you didn't do the dishes. You didn't do that. Really? Is that really what's important here? Fuck, it'll get done.
Or it won't, but it does right now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And meeting, we know immediately how the conversation is going to go before it starts. And I heard something
100%.
the other day. I study communication. I listen and learn a lot about it. And I was listening to a podcast of this man. He's an attorney, and he just wrote a book. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he talks about communication. The first word is not a word, but a breath. If you can take one breath before you speak, and because we get ahead of ourselves, because we're so outward, it's about proving something instead of just being and perhaps listening from a seat of love. So think about the times where you're like, boy, I wish I could have done that differently. And what would I have done differently? I would have taken a breath, softened, and smiled and said, hi, I'm so happy to see you. Or, oh my gosh, I'm just glad you're home, even if you're not necessarily happy. But then you can get into a harder conversation from a better place, a more grounded place, where we all seek to come to a greater understanding about ourselves and each other with a little bit more harmony, with a lot of compassion, and a safe place to make mistakes. So for parents, for all of us that have kids in our lives, a safe place to make mistakes and become who you are. It's like the bumpers in bowling. Bounce off of those. It's not a great ball. And life is heavy. Where like nobody's skillful, but we do our best. And we want those banks of the river to say, I see you and I hold you and I'm here. And no matter what. And that's the piece, the unconditional love.
For a while, whenever my wife would come home, or my oldest daughter doesn't live at home anymore, and she hasn't lived at home for 6 or 7 years now, but whenever they'd walk in, what was the best part of the first thing I'd ask, what was the best part of your day today? Just start it out with something light like that and cause them to think about, because undoubtedly when your spouse, your partner, whatever comes home from work, the first thing they're going to do is bitch about their day. So how about we shift the conversation, flip it? What was the best part of your day today? Tell me about that. We don't have to talk about this shit. We can later, because you got to get it off your chest. You got to get it out. But how about we start with the positive? What was the best part of your day today?
Yeah. And even if they're not
simple little shift,
it's okay. Maybe just go blow off some steam, go for a run. And then when you get back, let's talk. Because I think also not just having positivity, which is good. But we're not bypassing anything.
No.
If you're not in that space, this is something skillful to model for kids, particularly. Unless it's like dire, you have to do it. And kids come to you to talk, do not turn that down. Definitely do not turn that down.
No.
And that's where we like adult up inside ourselves. I can be present as I can be, clear the slate and be present for them. But otherwise, just be skillful and say, wow, I think I'm not in a good state to have this conversation that deserves all of my attention and all of my presence. And I'm a little bit stressed out. So just give me 10 minutes, an hour, put a time frame on it. Let them know that they're important and you're going to get back to it. Be your better self will bring better outcomes of the community.
For sure.
If you can.
For sure.
If you cannot, do your best, parents. I understand. And if you have little kids right now and you don't realize that between the golden years are between when they start sleeping through the night and then until they start to become a tween. And then once they start to stay up later, you're almost not sleeping as much as you did when they were babies. Because those are their hours. That's when they need help with homework. That's when they want to talk. That's when they actually will have a snack with you and have a conversation. It's a lot. Especially as parents too, Brad. Just when you think you got it dialed in, you're like, oh, I got this. Maybe a little bit. it'll change.
Oh, of
Like,
course.
oh, okay, we're going to pivot. And having a sense of humor
Absolutely.
with it, actually, instead of having it being so dire, I'm doing something wrong. There's just an opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. What radical shift in mindset do you want every parent to have in the next 5 minutes of this conversation, listening to our conversation?
Honestly, the mindset is your kids are not the problem. Your kids are a gift to unwrap, unknow, or to unwrap and know and enjoy. And they're not yours to keep forever, and they're not yours to tell what to do. And from that place, your job is to really take care of yourself. Know your own nervous system, know your own energy, know your own fate, so you can show up as a parent that is grounded, that is full of, maybe not even just full of hope, but like having a hopeful tone and able to be someone in their life that they can feel safe with and know unconditional love. And to know that, the parent has to feel that within themselves. So the unfortunate truth here, parents, is when any adult and all my friends that I talk to and the way I talk to myself, it starts inward. And that self-love thing is so annoying because it's like, how do I love myself when I don't? Like,
Yeah.
and you don't know till, and I've had many breakthroughs in my life where I thought I was like, oh, I've got it. And then it's like, it all goes to heck and I fall back into my old patterns. But it's a process of learning the tools to bring you, like you said, closer to yourself because you're the only relationship you have for your whole life. You're there at
Yeah,
your first
for sure.
breath as you inhale, and you're there in your last breath when you exhale.
Yep.
So, do we want to have a life that's led by love, internally and externally, or guided by fear and the unknown? And we're in a lot of it.
Oh, yeah, for
The
sure.
only way to navigate
Absolutely.
it is grounded in yourself, in love.
Yep.
And then we can face things individually and collectively in a better space.
Absolutely. What has been the most unexpected lesson you've learned stepping into a leadership role for a mission that wasn't originally yours, but has become yours to fight for?
The most unexpected lesson, not to go dark on us, but one of the unexpected lessons is people are struggling more than I realized. I knew this for a long time, but when people hear you work in youth mental health, they tell you a lot. If kids can trust you, they will tell you a lot. And
Yeah.
parents, if they connect with you, friends, people, they'll share. And everybody, my friend, has a story. Everybody
Oh, yeah.
has a struggle. And honestly, things are harder than anyone realizes right now. I don't want to be dark on that. But I
Yeah.
do know if we can at least establish our baseline that is actually way lower than it should be for day-to-day living, because I believe people live at a very anxious and depressed level at the same time. I err more toward anxious. Some people err more toward depressive, but we're all on this spectrum of what the heck is going on in the world.
Yeah.
I think
for
that's
sure.
the most unexpected thing, is that things are way harder than I thought for people, but it's created a curiosity for me to understand why. And I did learn a statistic that from the World Health Organization, that somebody takes their life every 40 seconds globally. And I did the math on that one, and that's 90 suicides an hour globally.
That's crazy.
So I just imagine that, and I'm like, okay, if that is true, and those are the statistics, my work is more important now more than ever. For me to stay in the work, for you to stay in these conversations, for therapists, for
Yeah,
teachers, we must take care of ourselves.
for sure.
So I think
Absolutely.
those are the two biggest lessons that I've learned, that it is worse than I thought. And also, you, this conversation, that's the hope. We are the medicine, and you're a real person
Yeah.
with a great heart. And I do believe that as we awaken together and have an awareness of it, it can only move now in a positive direction. So we are a
Agreed.
light of awareness. So when I say that, it is not with dismal. It's legitimate. Like,
No.
here's the light, let's turn it on, and then open our hearts and get to work. every day.
The more people we bring in and get to turn their lights on, the brighter the light is collectively, and that's what we need to do. And that's the only way it's going to get done, is if we each do our individual work. You're doing yours, I'm doing mine, everyone else doing theirs, but then coming together collectively to support each other and do it together in unity with one another. That's how we're going to change shit. So what does real advocacy for youth mental health look like beyond the social media posts, the performative allyship, all of those things?
I think there's a whole lot there again too, but I do have to say one piece that we're leaving out that is mission critical. There's the you doing your work. There's the me doing my work. There's the us collectively getting around our shared missions. But what we're forgetting is something I said earlier that is not really talked about, is that we are nature. We are made up of everything in the cosmos inside these bodies. All of the medicine, all of the cure is in nature. Go outside. When is the last time you took your child for a walk, device free, and let them guide the narrative? It's like when you walk your dog and they want to smell everything and pee on everything, and you're like, get annoyed, but you let them do what they do because they're dogs.
Yeah.
To have them go to the bathroom, you have to let them explore. For kids to unwind their anxiety, they need to do the same thing. And we do too. So let the kids lead us in nature. Get curious about that particular bug instead of screaming about it or being afraid of it. Here in Northern California, since I moved here with my family, it's been crazy because there's like massive nature. There's mountain lion cubs. There are snakes. There are some of the biggest spiders I've ever seen. And nature is powerful, right? Well,
For sure.
It can create that sense of, but it is also how to be with it, to know that, yes, it's powerful, and to really know how to respond. If you react to nature, will push back, right? If you run away from a mountain lion, it's going to chase you, right?
Yeah.
So there are different ways to be in nature, but those are the extreme examples. And we've got a lot of natural disasters that have happened, and we need to be more aware to respond sooner. But for us to not be separate from nature, to be afraid of it, and to look at it and wonder and talk to the kids. And what would the moon say if the moon could talk to you right now? What is your favorite star? Did you know your body's made up of stars? And get those conversations going. Or the best gift is to just be in silence and listen to the birds.
Yeah.
Listen to the wind, listen to the water. So I would say that those are the things that's the key ingredient that we're missing in this conversation about mental health, because most people think it's in between your ears, what you're thinking. That's not what's wrong. That is a byproduct. Like you said before, it's a story that maybe you've brought forward from how you were parented and now you're parenting, right? But the disconnection from the wholehearted, beautiful, we are perfect beings, starting from that place, because we look at nature. The sun it shines on everybody. The breath is perfect because the air goes to everybody equally. Could we be as perfect in our responses as the sun and the breath? It's beautiful.
We are a gift.
Right? Yeah.
Truly.
So our nature.
Truly. Yeah. I get out in nature every day, every single day. It's so important because when you can be alone and just, like you said, listen, like this morning I was walking my dog. I get out every morning to walk my dog, and just I was thinking about how grateful I am to be able to do this every morning and to hear the birds chirping and to be in solitude and to be in solace and just take in the sunshine, take in nature. Everything around me is a gift. This is beautiful.
And
so we need to do more of that. Yes, absolutely. We have everything we need within us to heal.
Agreed.
Everything.
And it just needs to be modeled and prioritized. So the one thing that actually is our cure, we are destroying.
Yeah.
Especially in the United States, we are like aggressively attacking our earth.
Yeah.
And it's really, it hurts my heart every day because I am in such awe of this jewel of a planet we get to live on. Yeah. And that is our cure, and we are hurting it. So while we
For sure.
can have this time, let us turn our devotions outward and show young people that this is where it's at. This is the
Yeah,
magic.
exactly.
Instead of like sitting
Exactly.
inside in your rooms, on your phone, in your bed,
Yeah, in here.
locked in there.
Yeah, for sure. If you could change one thing tomorrow in how society treats youth mental health, what would it be, and how would we make that shift happen?
Honestly, I think it's just exactly along the lines of what we're talking about. I think the shift would be in school, for example, find a way for kids to be outside.
I don't think the education system should have been created to keep kids in a room at a desk 8 hours a day inside. Get the fuck outside.
Yeah. It's against our nature. And I have 2 degrees in education. I taught school for 9 years. I was going to be a superintendent, revolutionize the system. When I was in the system, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to change this. So I got to go do something else. And that's when I found yoga and mindfulness. And I had my kids and I faced my own depression, things like that. But I would definitely say day in and day out, when my kids would come home from school, and the question you asked, tell me something good about your day. And they just sit there blankly. Did one teacher say something that was kind to you or inspirational? And like, and they're like, my teachers don't talk to me a lot of the times. My teachers don't smile. And I'm not dishing on educators. They are gatekeepers. They are dealing with violence. And like, my heart goes out to every teacher, 100%, and every parent. And we need to do better. And
yes, we do.
Even though we know we're anxious, because we don't know if there's an active shooter on campus or not. Every eye exchange, if I could revolutionize education right now, you know what I would say? Every teacher, educator, principal, whatever, pause in front of each individual or the class and just take that breath first to open the communication. Change your energy and smile if you can, even if you have to fake it, and say something positive like, isn't it a good day to be alive? My greatest thing is to have people say, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so glad you're here. If we could start every morning in the classroom like that, or every morning at the breakfast table, hi, good morning. I'm so happy to see you, even if you're miserable, even if you want to be.
Or walking down the street, you see someone, hello, how are you this morning?
Exactly.
And genuinely give a shit, though. A lot of people will just say the words just to say the words. How are you? They don't really give a shit, or they don't listen to the answer, but genuinely care. Like a smile from someone. You put a smile on someone's face, that is fucking powerful. That can change the trajectory of someone's entire day. You have no idea
how many times I've heard that people were this close to making a really life-ending decision. And one small interaction helped them realize, wow, maybe I am valuable. And the statistics show from, I'm going to get them wrong right now, so I can't even go, like maybe 10 years ago or so, there was a study done that asked kids that were the ages, I think 12 to 16, and I can find it and send it to you, Brad. It's, does your life matter? That was the question the kids were asked. And it was a low number that said their lives didn't matter, a lower number. And they did the same question, the same survey to kids in that same age group for that same period of time. They replicated the study basically. And the numbers astronomically jumped up that their lives don't matter.
That's heartbreaking.
So this is where we are, friends. And so that's the bad news. But the good news is we're here. We're having this conversation. We know our part in it starts within, but it can't lie there. Being in the yoga mindfulness space, a lot of people stay in their own being as well. And they're
siloed.
Exactly. And it's, even though some people don't have kids or families, we are in the human household of the world. So that means we are householders of our globe. We need to bring our practices into the world and share that positive light and energy, even knowledge, whatever we can convey into the world, but particularly just clean up your energy. If you can do that, the world will be better for it. your kids will feel it.
For sure.
And you're going to feel it. And
Everyone around you,
it's
everybody.
360 win.
Yes, absolutely. So how do you, speaking of looking after ourselves and shifting our energy, how do you keep yourself mentally and emotionally charged when the work feels heavy or slow? What is one of your self-care secret weapons?
I feel really grateful that I live in Northern California, so I can go outside every day, 365 days a year. I lived in Michigan for a long time, and there were sometimes the wind chill was so bad you couldn't go outside. So literally going outside in nature quietly is a big savior for me. But my yoga practice, my yoga community, that's huge. I use a piece of technology called Shift Wave that I've recently purchased,
Okay.
and it's a nervous system regulation tool that allows your body to reset and go back to a really calm baseline. I could share more of that with you if you're interested. But I also do a lot of writing and a lot of creating.
Okay.
So those processes are very important to me. And then the ones I mentioned earlier, acupuncture, tea, that kind of thing, like chiropractics.
Yeah.
Those when I feel out of alignment with my body, and I also energetically feel out of alignment. So I'll go get an acupuncture session after I do like a body work, physical therapy, chiropractic adjustment as well. But those are the external things. The internal things are breath, meditation, stillness, solitude in a good way. And that's a whole nother conversation
Yeah.
you and I could talk about sometime, which is the difference between being
Yes.
alone in
Mhm.
solitude or lonely in isolation. They're two totally different
Yeah.
animals, because
Oh, for sure.
for us to be alone in ourselves and not feel lonely is the greatest treasure we seek as humans. And
Absolutely agreed.
yeah. So those are the things I would say. And like good communication. Communication is my favorite thing. And making meaning in the world with other people. Like right now, this is my favorite thing right now, because we get to talk about
Yeah.
meaningful things and dig deep and go way below the surface. No like perfunctory
Yes.
talk.
Yeah, we're not just surface cleaning here. We're getting deep into it and into the roots of it all. And that's the type of conversations that we need to be having. And those are the conversations that are going to be the catalyst for change. Dana, can you tell us about the film? I know I mentioned off the top, you've been working on
Yeah.
documentary film. You tell us about all the things. Please share.
It's interesting. So in my writing practice is one of my rituals, right? I had a question that I pulled this morning that said, what is something, it's right here. What have you accomplished recently that would have shocked you a year ago? And a year ago, I wouldn't have realized that I would be a producer for a film. Like when I started my job with Jay, I inherited the film they just finished. And my job at that time was to bring this film all over the United States. And actually, we got it into Panama and we're getting it translated into other languages.
Wow.
So the conversation is, what do you notice about youth mental health? What questions do you have? What signs do you see? That was like the first film. And then I told you we created the card deck, which I never thought I would make a product. And I did that with the team, and it was a really challenging process, but amazing. And it's making a big difference. But then after doing my job for a year and a half, I said to Jay, our next film, which I think we need to start making, has to be about hope. It's got to give people inspiration, because everybody knows that we have a mental health problem. And we need to take that and shift the narrative to what can we do? How can we show it? And how can we have a different conversation to give us hope to move forward? Because as adults, we're not fixing it for kids, really. They're inheriting
Right.
problems. So let's have young people feel within themselves like inspired, hopeful. And so the theme of the film was the impetus to interview 10 young people. And the conversation that we've done in the last 5 months since we began production is ask these kids very simply, what's your challenge in the world today? That's not the focus, even though they all shared that life is not easy, some of them harder than, but everybody shared what they do, what they find, how they express themselves creatively, what they lean into in the world that helps them navigate life and find joy. So incredible young people that I got to hand select, work with Jay to make sure that it was all this fit for us to have this conversation to create this film. And their stories are electric. They're beautiful. They're hard, but they're real. And they lead us with so much hope. For example, one girl, she lost her sister to a fentanyl overdose. And she sadly went to school as a young, I think she was in middle school at the time. Kids made fun of her. Believe it or not, like this is the stuff that's real out there. But our focus is not. That is the data. But the focus is what her family helped her do to heal. And she found equine therapy. So she rides her horse for free.
Awesome.
In nature. And actually, horses are some of the most intuitive animals to help us heal. If you have a cat, that's another one. But a horse is a big force. And it's a really beautiful, kind animal. So she says, I ride Buddy. I talk to Buddy about my day. And we have this beautiful footage of her with this animal just doing her thing. And it's
amazing.
So inspiring. And then she just shares the other things that bring her joy. She makes art. She goes fishing because kids are so joyful when they're able to do what they enjoy. And when you don't have time to explore that, because she didn't go back to regular school, but she had the freed up hours of the day to explore other things while she was going and doing school at home. It's really sad when you have to leave school when a child happens, because parent or schools often don't share if kids have died by suicide. They try to sweep that under the rug. And then exponentially sadder is that you're going to get made fun of for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely horrible and disgusting.
It is. But so this new film says, you know what? We know all these things. We're not going to dwell on those, even though they're real, and we're not going to diminish someone's experience. We're going to validate it. And then we're going to say, as first of all, survival, but then to thrive, this is what these kids did. And they are so inspirational to themselves, to each other, and actually for us as parents. Because every parent, I would love to say, what do you love? How do you show up in the world and express yourself creatively? Do you like to, from your soul, not because everybody says you should do a triathlon for longevity? That's a different thing. How can, what is it that really lights you up from the inside? And I would say a lot of people are like, there's no judgment.
I don't even know.
I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
And I empathize with that to the 1,000th millionth degree, because I remember the day I said that to myself and I was in tears. So we are learning along with our kids to reclaim our nature that is tamed, like that is a little bit wild and maybe not understood by everybody, and they don't need to. If you want to ride a horse, you don't have to explain why. So the new film project, I think we still have a working title in progress, and we're really trying to get it just right, because this film is so important that it does say there is something so important that we can do. Lean into ourselves, lean into what calls us from the inside. And these young people, supported by the people around them, is just elegant. So I can't wait for it to come out.
Love it. Any idea when the launch? Do you have a rough idea?
Every time I give a date, the goalpost is a little bit.
Okay.
But I would.
Will it be this year?
It is fall 2025. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
As soon as we have the trailer,
beautiful.
I'll put it in your hands. I'll make sure you have it.
Please do.
And it should be done no later than July 25th. So that's pretty soon.
And I'll happily share that in my groups and my social media. Absolutely. Because it's so important. So thank you for sharing the details about that. What would you say, or what do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
That I love people. Like with every cell of my being, I love people and I love life. And so from those two places, that I can honestly say, ever since I was born, that's how I was wired, even though life got hard and I've had to navigate some really tough stuff. At the basis of who I am, I love life and I love people. So I have a great network of people. I have great friends. I have great colleagues. I live in a beautiful community. And I think the big thing is, my superpower is that I can create meaning that people crave, whether it was through my work in the church world, my work in the yoga community world, and now in the well-being youth mental health space.
Love it. Speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does success mean to you?
I think success is love. Honestly, if
Yes.
you can love
Love
yourself
that.
and say that, essentially, you put your head on the pillow at night, there's no greater currency in the world than the love of yourself and a peaceful heart that you did your best that day. You loved life. And if you sucked at life, you can honor it and just say, you know what? We're going to try again tomorrow, kid.
Tomorrow's another
But
opportunity. Yes,
with
absolutely.
tenderness.
Yes, for sure. Be gentle and graceful with
Yeah.
ourselves. Absolutely.
But success is love.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment. I would say pretty much the same thing. Empowerment is self love. And if that's the fuel that drives you, then you can be resilient. You can be focused. You can build and create. But if you don't have that as your foundation, it's shaky. So empowerment
Yeah.
comes from, I think it's steps. So it's self love that leads to self respect, that leads to confidence, that leads, and then you can build from.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing. Okay. How would you describe yourself in one word?
Loving,
What is your favorite self-care practice?
yoga,
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
self love,
What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
love,
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
loving the world into a better place through
I
example.
see a theme. I see a theme here.
I know, and it's not because I don't have another answer.
No, I love it.
It comes down to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's sounding a little
What is
ridiculous to myself.
No, not at all. Not at all. What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
My desire to make the world better than I found it.
What is one word that defines the woman you're becoming?
Softer.
Beautiful. That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. If you could take one feeling, Dana, or one belief, bottle it up and give it to people, what would it be?
Self-love.
If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
I think just in terms of this conversation for parents, it would be about AI, just because that question is really important to dig into a little bit more. Not that we need to have it today, but I do want to have that with you.
Yeah.
That's a piece that's the wild card. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, as social media came on the rise, people were like, looked at it in awe. We don't know what's going to happen. Now we know what can happen a little bit better.
Yeah.
Even though we don't know. We know we don't know what we don't know. And so that's the conversation. So that's the question. Yeah.
If you were to introduce yourself to me without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, your ethnicity, your nationality, where you grew up, your hobbies, all of that bullshit, these labels and these tags that we put on ourselves, how would you introduce yourself to me? How would you describe yourself?
Yes. This is a poetic question to me. This is when it's essential. And I would say to make it very simple and not to get too esoteric and poetic, because I could wax that way for a while. I like it.
Wax poetic.
Yep. I am a being of light and love.
Beautiful. I love that. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Living or dead? Passed on?
Either or, whatever you want.
It brings tears to my eyes to think about. I want to talk to my grandma. I miss her. She's got a lot to say.
Yeah.
She comes to me in my dreams. And if I could actually be like, can we just cut right to it, Grandma? What you got? What do you see? What are the angels and all of my protectors and my counsel? What are they saying? Help guide me. Oh, that would make me, I miss her so much. I would love that.
Yeah. Beautiful. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, wow. The specific young person advice would be, don't starve yourself and don't make yourself throw up to control or suppress feelings of sadness or grief or loss. Embrace who you are. Keep that spark and that light alive, that you are worthy of love. And it will be way better than okay if you allow the magic to happen right now.
Last question for you, Dana. If you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
I don't want to keep my words in a silo because I think we often live in silos. I think to all people, my closing remarks would be, love is the answer. Love is the cure. Let us love ourselves. And in that loving and in that knowing, remember that we are nature. We are not separate from nature. And we need to live and be at one with nature. And when we can be at one, every being, every person, every animal will know peace and can be free, because that's what we all want, is freedom to live a life that we love.
Beautiful. Dana, thank you so much for being here with me today, for taking and making the time to sit down and share with me your wisdom, your knowledge, your insights, the beautiful light you put out into the world through the incredibly important work that you do. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. I am honored to have you as a member of the Empowerography community and to call you a friend.
So grateful.
Once again, my name is Brad Welsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Dana Christian Lee. She is a yoga and mindfulness teacher, the executive director at Tell My Story, the executive director and producer of the upcoming documentary, which will be out later this year, and a huge advocate for children's and youth's mental health. Thank you so much, Dana. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Appreciate you, Brad.
Thank you. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.